In this scene from Beef, two characters accidentally eat one of the deadliest plants in the world, deadly Nightshade. Is that too dramatic? Yet somehow they survive. My question for you is, what would actually happen if you ate these berries in real life? Let's find out. For today's video, we are going to be reviewing the deadly Nightshade berry scene from the Netflix series Beef. Deadly Nightshade berries contain scopolamine, the exact same active compound that the legendary or terrifying Datura seeds contain. This compound is classified as a deliriant substance. Deliriants are very different than psychedelics. You do hallucinate, but it's more like true hallucinations, where you will picture people, places, things appearing as if you're kind of experiencing a waking dream-like state. Versus psychedelics, they distort reality. True hallucinogens create an entirely new reality, and to an onlooker, you would look totally freaking schizophrenic. You might be walking straight across a busy highway, but in your delusion, you think that you're walking across the room to grab a drink. That is what a deliriant is gonna do. It's gonna cause you to hallucinate things that don't actually exist. Psychedelics kind of alter things that already exist and can make them look like something else. I know it kind of sounds the same, and in very high doses, psychedelics can operate as if they are, true hallucinogenic. Seeing an entity on a psychedelic is pretty much hallucinating something that's not there. Deliriants are more like a waking dream. Psychedelics are more like waking up from the dream. I'm going to react to the episode, and I'm going to tell you just how accurate and realistic this is compared to actually having that substance for yourself. Of course, in the realm of deadly nightshade berries, this is not a substance you should ever have for yourself. As little as 1 to 2 berries could kill a small child, a handful of berries could kill an adult. I mean, the characters in the show were really lucky that they didn't die for real, because this is a substance that no one should ever consume. And before we get into this, I do recommend that everybody watches it. I also know that depending on what country you live in, you might not have it available on Netflix for you. And if that's the case, then this video's sponsor can really help you. This video's sponsor is Surfshark. They are a VPN provider, and what you can actually do with a VPN is you can change what country it looks like you're living in, and it'll open up a whole new window, sometimes with hundreds of new titles for you to watch. But more importantly, what a VPN does that I find more valuable is it keeps you private on the internet. And I think a lot of you guys who are watching these videos have an interest in at least a few taboo things, maybe drugs, stuff you don't necessarily want your internet provider or just anybody to be able to see. I mean, especially if you're looking up drugs and then moving on to chopping some onions. If you're ever gonna go look at some onions, you always gotta start with the VPN first. Those who know. At the very least, knowing that your internet history is private, I think is invaluable. It really does give you a peace of mind and a sense of security, especially if you're looking up these taboo topics. In some countries, just looking at this stuff is illegal. And if you head to Surfshark right now and use the code PSYCHED, you are going to get 4 extra months. That means if you pay for a 12-month subscription, you're going to get a 16-month subscription. So again, head on over to Surfshark, sign up today, use code PSYCHED, and let's jump back into today's video.
Hey, are you sure these are elderberry?
Oh my god! What the fuck do we eat?
Fun fact, the only reason I started watching this show is because the actor who plays this dude also voices Invincible.
I think we're in trouble. This is not normal.
I'm gonna go find help.
No, you won't be able to make it back to me.
I just wanna try.
Hey! Don't leave me here!
Quick note, she actually does have a gun. The reason why they look so beat up is because they were trying to kill each other, and they ended up both driving their vehicles off a cliff, miraculously survived, and now they're stuck out in the wilderness and they're forced to try to help each other. This is the final episode. It's the climax of the whole show. It's really funny because the whole rivalry between these two started with an incident of road rage. The show does a great job of depicting how one bad decision can snowball into enough shit that it just completely encompasses more than just their lives and ruins multiple lives in the process, which are the profound types of thoughts you can have on psychedelics, and they can become really vivid and real, which is why it's all the more interesting that it climaxes with them having this experience. For the whole show, they're slowly starting to hate each other more and more and more up until this point where they're just ready to kill each other. What a great set and setting. I love it. So her gun just turned into a stick. 100% the type of effect you would have if you consumed a deliriant such as deadly nightshade berries.
I can't move.
He was just in front of her, now he's behind her. To her, it would feel like he's teleporting, but what's actually happening is when you take these substances, your short-term memory gets totally botched. She probably did watch him walk behind her, but then as soon as he got back there, her memory cut out where she completely forgot that she did watch him there, and then all of a sudden to her, it looks like he just teleported behind her. Time feels like it's skipping, but it's really just your memory is screwed.
What even is poison?
I think they're just chemicals.
They are chemicals. They are called alkaloids.
What are chemicals?
I don't know, Danny.
How come Asians are all lactose intolerant?
Notice how he's asking her all the questions. This is common in a trip. I love seeing this. Usually one person will just start questioning everything and asking really stupid questions, and then the other person is put on the spot, like she's getting put on the spot, feeling like they have to answer, but their memory is not working, and trying to answer these questions actually makes them dive deeper into the trip because they're like, oh my god, this is basic shit. Why can't I answer these questions properly? And then you start panicking.
So if we have the cows, then why wouldn't we drink the milk?
Hey,
You know?
you gotta stop asking me questions, okay?
It's just tumbling her deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole.
You hear those voices?
No, I don't hear anything.
That's nice.
Obviously, hearing voices is a delirium effect. Generally, though, at the dose they took, they should be seeing things. They should be seeing more things that aren't there than just her seeing her gun turn into a stick. But
You know, our body absorbs nutrients and then pisses and shits out all the bad stuff.
Yeah, Danny, I do know about that.
this totally happens on trips. You start thinking about very basic things and everything sounds uniquely profound. In the trip, you're like, whoa, we got these tubes and food goes in one tube and then the shit that we don't need comes out the other tube. Oh my God, that's crazy. And you'll wake up the next day and just be like, oh my God, it was not that deep.
Oh, something's not right. It's coming back on strong.
I feel like you're inside my head. Are you talking or me?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so do you see how the wood is doing this flowy thing? Definitely not stuff you're going to see on Deliriant, but that is stuff that you're going to see on mushrooms or acid. Wood, in particular, flows like a river.
I think I was talking about
this one night. I was up real late at night, and my mom got me real good with that Kmart meme. I think I was like 12 or 13 at the time. I got out of bed and walked over to my brother's.
I really like how they're making it so that they're both remembering. It's both of their voices as if they're both remembering the same thought at the same time. Now, this is a thought that he is having, but I just love how they depict this because that is what it'll feel like. It'll feel like you don't know whose thought you're actually remembering, and then you're like, wait, this isn't my thought. And they're like, shit, if it's not my thought, how am I having the thought? Oh my gosh, who am I?
Wait. Who am I? Yo. You're Amy. I'm Danny. Come on. Oh, right. I'm Amy.
I love this. So now they've essentially switched bodies. They're still sharing thoughts, but they've switched bodies. I guess this is just cool to see as the viewer. And because their consciousness have now merged, they each have access to each other's memories, which is real weird. And I love how they show this here. However, this is absolutely not something that you're going to see on a Deliriant. This is a very common effect when you take a psychedelic, things like mushrooms, LSD. If you take those with someone that you have an intimate connection with, then your consciousness can merge with theirs and you can have this experience. This type of shit ain't happening on a Deliriant. They're really mixing up their compounds here.
Wait. Did you jerk off to my butt photo?
I'm sorry.
She knew that because now she has access to his memories.
Well, for as long as I can remember, that's what being alive has felt like. Can't have form without space. Can't experience light without dark.
So this whole thing, can't experience light without dark, that is duality. The famous philosopher Alan Watts popularized this. It's basically the concept of you can't have up without down. I mean, you couldn't even look down if you weren't up. And how are you going to look up if you're not down? Every peak has a trough. Everything has an opposing side. And that is what creates, I guess, life itself. Because how could you experience what happiness was if you didn't also know how bad sadness was? And how could you experience, joy and bliss if you didn't also know just how horrible and horrifying life could be? It's like the notion that even though some really horrible, disgusting stuff can happen to you that is terrifying, the flip side of that is because it can go so dark and so low, life can also go so high and so elated. That is the concept. In other words, you can never wish to always be happy, because without the presence of sadness, without the opposite side to it, you wouldn't know what happy was. If you were always happy, that instead would just be this static emotion, and it really wouldn't be happiness, would it? It's only happiness because of the opposing side. And it's interesting because when you're on psychedelics, things like this feel much more profound. It feels like instead of just understanding it conceptually, you feel it in your being. And that is a really cool effect of taking these substances.
Why would a god make it like this?
Well, if God is everything, then we're God. That means God is just like us.
This is a dangerous thought. Actually, I explained this great in an earlier take where I look a lot more disheveled than I do now. So let's just go back to disheveled Adam and he's going to explain this concept. I'd just like to emphasize that neither I, Obi-Wan Kenobi Adam, nor disheveled Adam coming up, necessarily believe this concept. I'm simply doing my best to explain something that a lot of people feel when they're taking psychedelics. This is not a deliriant type effect. This isn't even a DMT effect, because DMT takes you outside of this whole way of thinking that you're God, and it puts you into the seat of holy shit. So let's just go back to disheveled Adam and he's going to explain this concept. This is a common feeling two people have on psychedelics. You believe that you are God experiencing itself as everything. If you're everything, you can create and have any experience possible. You always know how it's all going to end. Like imagine watching a movie that you've seen an actual million times. It's not interesting anymore. You probably wouldn't watch those movies. In fact, something I've enjoyed as I've gotten older, I've forgotten so many of the movies I've watched because of my brain damage from drug use. I can now watch them again and enjoy them, sometimes as if I've never even seen it before. Oh, it's amazing. So the forgetting and not knowing what happens keeps things interesting. It's this idea that we are all God experiencing itself in a dream within a dream within a dream. You wake up from the dream when you die, and that's when you realize, oh, I was everything. But then you want to go back to sleep because you wouldn't want to be in that state for too long. You need the presence of you to feel the presence of I. It's also the idea that God kind of gets bored with its own existence and that life is eternally playful. And you would say, well, why is there so many hardships? How come people can experience horrendous pain and suffering? Why would a God want to say God is everything? Why would a God that is everything want to experience that? Then it comes to the idea that it's better to have any experience than no experience. And then we go back to duality because it's like, yeah, you can experience insane pain and torture, but the high has to match the low. You can only go as high as you can low. In that same regard, it's because of that insane torture and pain that you can experience such incredible bliss and joy. You need the two sides of the coin. And you would say God, who's trying to have every experience possible, obviously on some level loves itself in every incarnation, in every aspect. So even the most horrendous murderers, God ultimately loves itself, and God is here to experience all aspects of itself, all the pain, every darkness. It's here to see all of itself because it has no choice in a sense. Because if it is everything, if it's every imaginable thought, then it must also experience every imaginable thought. It's kind of like God's karma. It's forced to suffer if it wants to be incarnate in a real form. It actually gets to experience in real time its creation and have this ups and down roller coaster ride of life that you get to wake up from one day when you die, but during it, you're in for a ride, man. And God, okay, I guess life is playful. We want to be on the ride. We're in line to get on the roller coaster and to have the biggest drop ever. Because that feeling of going down pushes our stomach up and we're like, whee! That's what we're here for. So that is the idea. I must again say that I think viewing things like this is kind of dangerous. I don't really think we're all God. I do think that there's something bigger than us. I just have the feeling that things are much more weird than we have any idea of, and that things are so much bigger than we are. Am I making sense? Let's get back to this.
Oh my God. Danny, wake up.
I love how they're using the branches, it looks like they use them as blankets. Not very effective. Maybe they hallucinated that they were blankets.
We're still here?
Now, if you've never had a trip where you intentionally or unintentionally ate something and you swore during the trip that you were dead and you were never waking up from that, and then when you actually wake up the next morning, that joy, that pure elated feeling that you get when you realize, oh my gosh, I'm alive and I'm sober, it is so blissful. So I love this scene where they're laughing because I can feel that. I've been there. Anyway, that is basically the scene. So let's summarize everything real quick. In terms of how accurate was this for a deliriant experience, I'm going to give it maybe a 6 out of 10. Keep in mind that the dose makes the poison, quite literally. And they really did take a massive dose of these berries. Given how much they ate, I would want to see more objects appearing that weren't there. I want to see them actually having a conversation with someone that doesn't exist. I want to see them hallucinate that they're in a totally new area. And I want to see stuff get really wacky and just out of control, kind of like a fever dream. If they included stuff like that, then I would up their rating probably by a lot. Now, in terms of how would I rate this for a psychedelic experience, even though that wasn't what they were going for, the whole joining of consciousness thing was very psychedelic, I would give that a solid 9 out of 10. They did a remarkably good job of showing what it's like to become the other person and to share thoughts and feelings. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you leave it with a big thumbs up. If you want to see the uncut version, head on over to Patreon. Again, check out this video's sponsor, Surfshark. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you all in the next video.